big goals require consistent action for a prolonged period of time. That's the only way that you can get them done. That's how you build a house. That's how you write a book. That's how you run a business. It's just little actions every day.
Okay, we're here. We're here. Happy Monday, everyone. Time for our next episode. Mandy is here. Amani is here. How are we doing? How are we feeling, Mandy?
Amani. I feel like I was gonna put a brave face on, but I'm just gonna keep it real. I am ready. I am ready for this renovation to be over. I'm
Yeah.
so grateful. I'm grateful that we can do it, but
Mhm.
I'm ready for it to be over. I'm ready for it to be over. I'm ready for it to be over. That's
Okay.
how I'm feeling today. I'm excited for the renovation to be complete. That's what I'm gonna
Okay.
say.
I love it.
Yes,
We
yes.
love the honesty. The honesty works. Okay.
Yes,
And we
I'm
have
holding it together. Just holding it together today, like
okay.
by strings. What do you say? Strings and tapes, like hair, like
Duct
tape,
tape
like
and yeah, duct tape.
bare, yeah,
Yeah.
duct
Yeah.
tape, like barely adhesive, like tape. I'm just holding it together.
Okay.
What about you, Amani? What's going on in your weekend? I feel like you were away again. Now you're back.
I was not away. I just kind of kept a low profile and just chilled.
Okay.
You know how sometimes after you've been traveling a whole bunch, as I did, you just need a bunch of time just to sit down and just to kind of
Yes.
just to be. So this was one of those weekends. Didn't do much. Just kind of caught up on a little grading, and that's it. Just kind of stayed still this weekend.
I love that song. Do you ever listen to that song? It's called Let's Be Still. It's like my like when I want to be still, I literally put this it's by Hearts and Hands or Minds and Souls or something, but it's called Let's Be Still. It's like
Hmm.
the perfect meditation song if you're like forcing yourself to take a break or a rest or like let's be still. It's a
Hmm.
good one. I'll send it to you
Send it to me. Add it to
for
the
your next
playlist.
break. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll send
yeah.
it to you. You'll love it.
Well, speaking of time and being still and managing all those things, let's see who our guest is going to be this week. Kind of talk to us about that.
We've got a great one this week. So she has been featured in People Magazine, Wall Street Journal, Glamour Magazine, Huffington Post. She's an author, a professional speaker, and most importantly, an expert in time management, which we all need to fine tune our time management. It doesn't matter how great we are with it. We all can use a time tip or two. So I'm so excited to welcome you, Alegre Ramos. Welcome
Yes,
to the
yes. There we go.
show.
Round of
Thank
applause
you.
there.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, you said my name so beautifully. Mandy Graziano. I have to do the hand gestures.
Yes, yes. You
Yeah,
can, you can do them all. I have a question to start off with. Mandy, do you want to go? I can go.
you
Where
go.
should we go? Go first.
Take it, Amani.
My
Take it away.
question for you, really, we're going to start off. We're not really going to build much rapport. I want to know what are like the top three mistakes people make when trying to manage their time properly.
The first mistake people make is that they don't actually think about how they want to spend their time.
Mm,
If you haven't decided how to spend your time, then nothing's a waste of time. Let's say the average American spends 4 hours watching television. That's not including just surfing the internet, right? Just watching programmed shows. 4 hours a day is the average. If you review television, then you're just doing your job. But if you were supposed to be working on a report or cleaning out the garage, then I think we can all safely say that was a waste of time. But if you didn't decide how to spend your time, then nothing's a waste of time and
huh,
everything's a waste of time.
okay.
Mhm.
So not being thoughtful about how you want to spend your time is number 1. Number 2 is not prioritizing the things that you want to do in your life. And when you don't prioritize, then the urgent things will always they're loud and they'll take over and the important things will fall by the wayside and you won't do anything about them, right? So the urgent things are the emergencies or the things that have a due date or the things that your boss tells you you need to do. And the important things are the things that make your heart sing, that you've always dreamed about doing, but they don't have a deadline that is making you focus on them, like writing that book or starting that business or going back to school. If you haven't prioritized those things, then they're never gonna prioritize themselves for you, you know? People always say, "Oh, well, I'll get to that someday."
Mm.
Unfortunately, I've never seen a calendar that says someday on it. Right? You can't be like, "Oh, here's the day when I'm supposed to work on that thing that I keep putting off." So if you have to prioritize the things that are important, otherwise the things that are urgent will always take over.
Okay.
And and then 3 is it's all about boundaries, and that's what having priorities really makes clear, because having your priorities straight makes it so easy to say no. You know, I remember when I was younger, I'm 51. I didn't remember which of the 50s I am, but
Mhm.
51. And I remember my 20s. I'm not a I don't enjoy drinking. I don't enjoy loud places. So bars are just not my thing. But I felt like I was supposed to go to bars.
Mhm.
That's what you do in your 20s. You go to bars, you go to fraternity parties and all of that sort of thing. I went to one fraternity party and I said, I didn't enjoy this. Why would I make myself spend time there?" And so just by being really clear, like, I'm not a drinker, I don't enjoy, fraternity parties. My boundaries were really clear. Like, "Hey, I'm free to do other things. Let me know." And it's just really great to have those boundaries set because then it makes it really clear what you don't wanna do and what you do wanna do. Now, I don't know if for people who see my bio, you might know that I do stand-up comedy for fun.
Mm.
So if you wanna go to a concert, I am not your gal. But if you're gonna go to a stand-up comedy show, you know I'll be there with bells on because I just have my boundaries really straight about how I wanna spend my time, and again, that's related to priorities.
You gave us so much there to unpack. Um, well, that was good. Now let's go back to you've written 4 books, if I recall correctly,
Yep,
right?
4 books, here they are, my bouquet I call them my bouquet of books.
All right. Okay, good.
I
What
love
were
the
your
colors.
best
Yeah,
I know, bright
thank you.
colors. What were your best time management techniques that you use to complete the book? Because what trips up most people, many clients I help with writing books and things like that, what trips up most people is they just cannot get the writing done.
Yes. So, writing is like drinking water. You can't put off writing until Sunday and try to get it all done and not have done it Monday through Saturday. Just like you can't drink 10 gallons of water on Sunday. You have to drink a little bit every day. You
Good
know,
reminder.
Yeah.
big goals. Yes, let's all everyone pause and
Let's have
drink
a cheer.
your
Let's
water.
have a cheer, a
Yes.
toast, a
Oh,
water
toast.
toast.
Yes. A
Water
Cheers.
toast.
Cheers.
toast.
Yes.
Yes.
Cheers.
And everyone's like wondering, what the heck are you drinking?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
tell
green
us.
water
Tell
there. That's
us.
green water.
This this is hibiscus flowers and matcha. So I'm
Okay.
getting lots of polyphenols in there. As you can hear, I do things very deliberately. So the first thing I eat every day is pretty much always this chia seed smoothie and then into my polyphenols. So if I'm going to drink water, I might as well be getting, you know, good nutrition out of it.
Hmm.
Anyway, so writing, like any big goal, you have to chip away at it. Big goals require consistent action for a prolonged period of time. That's the only way that you can get them done. That's how you build a house, that's how you write a book, that's how you run a business. It's just little actions every day. So that's how I write every day, just a little bit in the morning. I always do it in the morning because I'm most productive in the morning. I am a lion chronotype for people who have done chronotyping, which means that I write 3 times faster in the morning than I do
Mm.
in the evening. So again, that's a big productivity save. I've saved myself hours and hours by writing in the morning rather than the evening. So that's how you do those big things. You have to chip away at them.
I love it.
Long-term goals, here's the saying I have. Long-term goals require long-term effort.
Mm. Okay. More to unpack. Mandy, over to you while I can think about what I want to ask next.
Well, I love this idea of at an early age saying, I have this visualization of like a parent saying this to a kid of like, how do you want to spend your time? who do you want to spend your time with, and what is time worth to you? Because I think I know in my career, I've started focusing on time management, and time management is such a silly word, but like just time, time, just the value of time.
Mhm.
Probably like 22 years ago or so, I would say. I think I read an article in a magazine. But as you're talking, it's occurring to me like this is a convert. It's kind of like sales. This is a conversation that would be beneficial for us to be having with people earlier and earlier. So by the time you get
Absolutely.
to our age, because we're all in our 50s here, we're masters at it. But unfortunately, I feel like people don't start considering it until their 40s, maybe, right?
Right.
And it's just a good conversation. So that's just a observation I'm making from what you said. And like we said at the beginning, like we are always fine tuning it. So how
Yes.
did this evolve for you? How did this start for you? Like when was that first like notion of how you're spending your time and how you can be more obsessed with time in a better way? Like what was the birth of this for you?
Well, I'm just a high energy person and I like to do a lot of different things. I always have. Like before I went to MBA school, I was actually working and taking a stand-up comedy class and learning to throw pottery. That's just how I'm wired. And I think most people end up finding me when they have kids because that's when the time management becomes a big crunch. Suddenly you
Mhm.
have this person who has all these demands on your time and you have no boundaries with them because your job is to keep them alive. That's when people, especially when parents, when their kid hits 5, that's when they start to come up from air a little bit and they say, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know. And I think this is so normal. Like, parents, give yourself grace. Those first 5 years are so hard that when you come up for air, you don't know who you are anymore because you just dedicated 5 years of your life to another person. And some people choose to, re-up. They go back into the child. I only had one. So when I hit that 5-year mark, it was very noticeable to me. I said, "Oh, like, she doesn't need me as much anymore, and I'm not quite sure what I'm doing anymore. So I need to figure this out. Otherwise, I could just kind of keep coasting like this." And, I've always been a very purposeful person. I actually found a calendar from when I was 16. So I was already doing planning, and I remember actually when I was 18 in college, I had this goal, this long-term goal. I guess I just have to say it because it sounds so weird to just,
Mhm.
like, be vague about it. I went to the University of Southern California, and my father went there as well, and he kind of raised me with stories of USC, and one of the stories was about Ms. USC, and Ms. USC is technically the homecoming queen, but also just the senior student ambassador. You do a lot of public speaking, you do a lot of outreach, and I decided I wanted to be Ms. USC, and so my freshman year, I interviewed other women who had been Ms. USC, and I broke it down. I was like, "Oh, okay, they were in this many organizations, and they were president in at least one of them. Their GPA was this." So I just kind of created the formula, and I figured out what the formula was, and then I laid it out for my next 4 years. And one of my advisors, her name's Judy Judy Biggs Garbullo. Actually, we still talk about that moment because it was such a aha moment for me. She said, "What are you working on in my planner?" And I was like, "Oh, this is my path to Ms. USC." And she said, "You're what?" And I explained to her, and she said, "I have never seen an 18-year-old do something like that before." And that's just the way my brain works. I'm an ENFJ, and ENFJs, we figure things out. We wanna figure out how to do it better and faster and, just more efficient. And that's just me. I'm always looking for in everything. I could be cooking, I could be painting, I could be planting. That's just how my brain works. But when I was kind of, I used to homeschool my child. I homeschooled my child from birth to her freshman year of high school, and it was in that period that moms were coming to me and saying, "I don't understand how you homeschool your child and you have a business and you manage to do stand-up comedy," like, I actually produce a stand-up comedy show. I'm not just kind of, like, showing up at open mics. I do it a little more seriously than others, and
Yeah.
people are just like, "I don't understand how you manage all of this," and I always said, "Planning." And people would say, "Well, I can plan a party." And I was like, "Well, it's not that kind of planning. Like, that kind of planning is discrete. You have a budget, you have a date, you have a goal in mind. I'm talking about the more ephemeral life planning stuff." And that was the stuff that people had difficulty wrapping their minds around. So I started informally coaching people, and I realized, "Hey, I think I" and my ENFJ brain clicked in, and I was like, "I can create a system for this." And so that's what I've done.
Mm,
Mm.
that's beautiful. I love how businesses are born out of our gifts, and like you clearly have a gift because you're wired a certain way. Now your business is born from it. You said something that reminded me of a quote that you had said before is about efficiency and effectiveness. So
Mm.
why is being efficient not the same as being effective?
So I've done a lot of public speaking and I've coached a few people in public speaking because they've asked me to. It's not what I hang my shingle on, but if someone has a message I want to help amplify, then I'm happy to help them out. And a lot of these CEO types, they just want to cram as much as they can into every meeting. They're like, I have 60 minutes with the staff. I'm going to tell them these 15 things. And I would tell the CEO, I would say, okay, well, if you spend that hour and you tell them those 15 things, and tomorrow you ask them, "What were the 15 things I talked about?" and they don't know anything, then what was the point of having that meeting? That was an efficient meeting for you, but it was not an effective meeting in terms of translating anything you wanted to say to your staff. So there's a reason TED Talks are 18 minutes because the brain science shows that at a certain point, audiences tune out because they've taken in all the information they can take in, and you're just starting to stress them out. So being efficient is when you're like, "Whoa, I got all these things off my plate." But did you move the things forward that you wanted to move forward? Did you communicate the message you wanted to communicate? That's the difference between efficiency and efficacy.
Oh, I love that. And then I want to ask you about prioritization. So, we're all business owners here, and I always prioritize revenue producing activities certain days of the week, and then certain days of the week I prioritize different things. And
Mm.
it's a constant juggle of prioritization. It's a good thing, but how do you represent prioritization? Like, how do you look at prioritization as a method in general?
Well, okay, are we talking about, like, big life prioritization or, like, day-to-day 8 AM, 9 AM
Can we do
prioritization?
both? Can we do macro and micro? I like it. Like you
Okay,
can
so
if you're cool with it.
on the macro scale, I would say prioritization is all about being really clear about your values. And, Benjamin Franklin, I love Benjamin Franklin. When Benjamin Franklin was in his 20s, he actually didn't like himself. He decided I don't know that he's had this conversation with himself, but the way the story is told is that he thought he drank too much, he dispensed too much, he didn't get up early enough, and so he came up with a list of values. I believe he had 13 values, and he had a little sheet, and he would focus on one per week that he would really try and work on, but he would rate himself on those 13 values every day. And eventually he did away with the system because guess what? He became the person he wanted to be. Just like me in the bars, like, I never had to think about that anymore. Once I set that boundary, I was like, "Okay, done." I don't have to remind myself, "Don't go to you don't like bars." So, being really clear about your values, I have these value cards. This is actually one of the first things whenever I'm coaching someone or, my Harness the Power of Planning, uh, course, this is one of the first things you do is you come up with value cards, and I put them on these pretty postcards because it makes me want to interact with them,
Mhm.
and they are hierarchically ordered from 1 to 8. And so on the macro scale, being really clear about your values helps you to prioritize, right? If you decide that, your personal life is your first priority and your professional life is your second priority, well, then when you get that business opportunity that conflicts with that birthday party, it's really clear what you're going to do because you've already done the pre work to set that up. So, this is how I prioritize on a macro level. Um, on a day-to-day level, I basically have my schedule laid out in terms of what my priorities are. So, writing, I'm working on 2 books right now. So, writing takes place in the morning. Also, that's aligned with my chronotype, and I have built-in breaks there. People might actually be surprised by how much unprogrammed time I have in my calendar because you can't just keep grinding and grinding and grinding away. I have about an hour long attention span for things that I'm not jazzed to do. Fortunately, words, I love words, which is why I stand up comedy, podcasts, write books. Like I just like words. Words are my access to flow state. And once I start writing, actually, it's hard for me to stop.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was homeschooling my child, I had to give myself the boundary of having a hard in with homeschooling at 10 a.m. because otherwise I'd start writing and then I'd be like, honey, yeah, we'll just do a few more worksheets. I'm on on a roll." But I couldn't do that for years and years and years. So at some point I gave myself that hard in. And so basically I have my goals that I'm working on and I give them a time slot in my day, and there's plenty of flex time built in between those, and it basically goes from, the stuff that's most mentally intensive, my deep work starts in the morning, and then it gets shallower and shallower and shallower, so that, things like setting up, uh, you know, Instagram, like making sure things are set, I bunch those together in the evening when I don't need my intense brain power working on them.
You're speaking my language. I believe in scheduled breaks. You should see my calendar. I've got a 5 minute scheduled break every 90 minutes or so. I love that. And I love the prior the micro and the macro. I think that's like really, really important. I don't think we think about this enough. Okay, Amani, I'm gonna steal one more question because she said it a
Actually, can
couple
I say one
times.
more thing? Can I say one more
Yes,
thing?
say
So
it.
one thing again, boundaries, prioritizations, like, my family, we have 2 rules. We have a bunch of rules, and I don't think rules is a dirty word. I like the word rules, like, it just makes things really clear for me. We have 2 rules that we have, which is 1, no screen time as in, like, TV watching or video game playing or any of that. You can use screens for work, but Monday through Friday, we never watch anything entertainment, if you will, because again, that's just about how I want to spend my time.
Mhm.
We also have a no sugar rule in our family, no refined sugar during those days. And then on the weekend, I love a donut. Give me a donut. I love me a donut. Okay, but I can't eat a donut every day and fit in my clothes. That's just not how it works, unfortunately. I don't have those Heather Locklear genes. So anyway, again, going back to prioritization, those are 2 things that just really help my family stay on track with how we spend our time.
Yeah, rules. I mean, I'm a bit of a rule breaker. I'm a rule bender. I would say I'm a rule bender, but rules can't, like you said, were rules, and I kind of shivered. But but I do like systems and processes, which are essentially rules. And I
Yeah,
do think
it's
when
the
you're
same
setting
thing.
boundaries, you're setting rules for yourself. So
Yeah.
I like that idea. Chronotype. Can
Mhm.
you? Some people know what that is. Some people don't. Can you just
Yeah.
explain what a chronotype is and how we can use it better in our lives?
Okay, so chronotype is just a way of figuring out what your circadian rhythms are in order to optimize for deep work and versus shallow work during the day. And look, like all of these things, like all these personality things, Myers-Briggs, DISC, Clifton, whatever you want to say. These are all just guidelines, people. Don't these are not do not take this to the bank. Like learn what you can from it. I believe self-knowledge is valuable, but it's not the end all be all. Okay? So chronotypes, there are 4 chronotypes. There are many different psychologists have given them different names, but the ones that I think we hear about the most are the lion, the bear, the wolf, and the dolphin.
Mm.
And the lion and the reason why, by the way, I was an anthropology student in undergrad, and I always like to say that, people ask me, "What industries do you work in?" And I say, "Do you have humans in your industry?" Because I work with those businesses. Those are the businesses I work with. I have my anthropology degree, I have my business degree, and basically I use them to help humans human better. Because there are things about being a human that affect you. Like you need a certain amount of sleep. It's unfortunate but true. I prioritize sleep. That's why I am the way I am with no coffee in my system. So, chronotypes, the 4 chronotypes are and anthropologists hypothesize that the reason why chronotypes exist is because when we were living in villages, someone had to be awake to guard the village and tend the fire. So
Yeah.
that's why they exist, right? So the lions are the stereotypical morning person. We get up at 6 or earlier. We are most effective for deep work before noon, and then we start to fade as the day goes. Not this is why I'm not good at bars because at 10 o'clock I'm tired. And the interesting thing I just have to say too, because hey, I want to stay up late too. I There's so many things that are interesting. I want to listen to. I want to read a book, whatever. But I have found that not only do I have more energy when I'm asleep by 10, I'm literally a happier. I feel happier. Like I'm just more chipper when I follow my chronotype. Okay, the next one is and lions make up about 10 to 15% of the population. Bears are the next biggest group. They're actually the biggest group. They're the next to get up, and they kind of wake with sunrise and go to like their energy level peaks with sunrise and then goes down with sunset. Not peaks, sorry. They wake with sunrise and then their energy level tapers off towards sunset. They're about 55% of the population, and they are most productive kind of between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., right? So they're midday. So you can see why they're the most people, because that's when the most activity can go on and you're not so worried about like, are we being threatened by predators at nighttime? So then there are wolves, and wolves are kind of, they get up a little bit later in the day and they stay up later into the night, and they'd be most productive in like mid to late afternoon. And they make up again about 10 to 15% of the population. And what I always like to point out to anyone who plans meetings is, so now that you know these percentages, you can see that probably the best time to have an all staff meeting is around 10 a.m. or 11 a.m.
Yeah.
because you're going to have 70% of the population awake and they haven't eaten. So they're not food coma, right?
Yeah.
And then you might want to have a second meeting at like 2 p.m. to try and capture the wolves. Okay. And then the dolphins are, unfortunately, thank you for your service. You are the ones who stayed up overnight to protect us. You probably suffer from insomnia. You get up irregularly, you go to sleep irregularly, and you're probably going to need a nap sometime during the day. And they
Mm,
make up the smallest percentage, about 5% of the population.
interesting. So, what happened to the Miss USC? What was the culmination?
Ms. USC, 1995, 1996, right here.
Oh,
Okay.
yay! You
I was
made
waiting.
it.
I
You
was waiting
made
for
it.
the story. I was like, we
Oh,
slept. I was like, what happened?
What happened to that?
yes, yes. I was Ms. USC. It was a wonderful experience.
All
Do all
right.
the Miss USC alum, do you get together for a parade or anything once a year? Do you have a secret handshake? Is there a club? Like what happens after? What's life
I I
after Miss USC?
I could tell you, but then no. It's there's no secret handshake or anything, but whenever I run into someone who is a Ms. USC or a Mr. USC, because there's always a Ms. and a Mr. every year, we do call each other Ms. USC and Mr. USC. It's just,
Oh, that's cute. That's super
Okay.
hey,
cute.
Mr. USC.
Okay. Yeah. I'll give a
That's
shout out
fun.
to Kristen Mackey, who's watching in the chat. So thank you for watching on LinkedIn. What inspired you to give up soda at the age of 11?
Wow, you're digging deep here, digging deep, Amani. So my father was a dentist,
Oh,
and I had to do a science experiment. So I decided my dad, when my father passed away, I found teeth in his nightstand, like just random teeth. Like
So
he just
gross.
brought them home and
So
put,
gross.
So I knew that my dad had access to all these teeth, and I decided to study the effects of different liquids on teeth. And so I put teeth in cups with lemon juice, with water, with lemon juice, with soda, and probably did tea and coffee or something. And the way it ate away, the soda, the way it ate away at the teeth was really eye-opening and disgusting. And I was like, I don't want that. So gave up soda.
interesting. Okay. I want to ask you about your business because you write books, you
Yes.
speak, you coach people. Do you also consult? I believe you also do some consulting or project
Yeah.
based work too.
Yes.
So,
And the
how do
comedy. And she produces the comedy
well,
show.
that's my follow-up question. So
Oh, okay, okay,
that's
okay,
the
okay.
follow-up question.
Let's
So just
not
be
forget the
ready for that
comedy.
one there. So how does your business break down by percentage? Like what do you spend like where do most of your clients fall into? What buckets?
Well, so, you know, the public speaking there's a really long timeline for public speaking. Like, I have people who are booking me for 2027.
Right.
And I really have a really I only agree to speaking out of town once a month right now
Mhm.
because I do have a child who's still at home. She's only gonna be home a couple more years, so I really still wanna prioritize that. So really, that constraint, that boundary that I've set for myself makes it really clear that, I'm only speaking out of town once a month, and a lot of the offers do happen out of town. So that's not a huge part, right? If you're only traveling once a month, that's not a huge part of your day. Right now, my focus is really on the books because, for me, a pet peeve is a 300-page book that should have been 50 pages.
Oh,
That's always been
yes.
a pet peeve.
Agree. Agree. Yes.
And because I'm a brain science nerd, I also know that you learn best when you do rather than just taking in information passively. And the other pet peeve I have are the books where people talk about the problems, but they don't offer any solutions. So when I started writing books, one, I was like, I'm going to keep them the length that they should be. I'm not going to try and fill them in. And two, I want to make them workbooks so that people are actually implementing the tips as I'm giving them. And so all of my books are designed to be read in an hour or less, you can see, and they're all workbooks. And so I have a workbook the next one, the fifth one that I'm working on, that'll be about habit formation made simple. Because there are a lot of huge books out there on habit formation, and I'm just going to distill them all down into another one of my short reads. And then I'm working on, I I harnessed the power of planning. The course was actually the first product I came up with. Sort of
Mhm.
this whole like how to life design your life. And the thing is that if you a lot of people came to me and they said, "I'd love to take your Harness the Power of Planning course, but I don't have the time to do it." I was like, "Okay, well then I'm gonna write this book to help you have the time to do it." And then people would say, "I'd love to do your Harness the Power of Planning course, but I don't feel like I'm taking care of myself." I wrote this book to help you
Mhm.
take care of yourself. So once you have those two pieces, then maybe you can start thinking about Harness the Power of Planning. But people had asked me, "Could you write a Harness the Power of Planning book?" And I was like, "Oh my god, that'd be like this thick and it would be so boring." Because I think what makes my course tolerable is that it's interactive, right? A tome on life design, I don't think would be very interesting. However, I had the epiphany of writing a non-narrative fiction version of Harness the Power of Planning, right? So anyone who's read The 5 AM Club or The Goal or Celestine Prophecy, those are non narrative nonfiction. Sorry, that's the right term. Narrative nonfiction, right? So
Mhm.
there's a story, but it's all just the framework to teach you lessons. And so I'm working on that. It's two moms. One mom says, "Hey, how are you doing everything?" And the other one says, "Planning." And then it goes from there. So I'm working on that because I'm putting together the pitch proposal for that because I do want that one to be published traditionally. That is a naturally 300-page book.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think I laugh as I'm writing it. So I feel like that's a good sign. So that's
Okay.
fun. So that's really the books right now are my priority. I'm doing more public speaking as my time frees up for that as my child is getting older. And then, I tell people like if you're within 2 to 5 hours of Los Angeles, let's talk because if I can get there by car easily, then I'm available to work with you. We just have to figure it out in the schedule.
Okay. Now, how has stand-up comedy helped your business?
Oh my gosh, so much actually.
Okay.
So
Do
much.
tell. Do tell.
Do tell. Well, first of all, everyone wants to talk to me about my stand-up comedy. Like, when people find out, they're like, "How do you do that? Where do you do that? Why do you do that?" Which, trust me, there are days when I wonder why I do it because it is scary. It is just as scary as you imagine it is. Although I shouldn't say scary because scary is a value judgment. There is just as much adrenaline pumping through my body as you can imagine, right? That's factually what's happening. And there are times when I allow myself to be like, "Oh, I wanna throw up right now." And then there are times where I'm just like, "This is just what's happening. Just write it." I mean, public speaking is all about writing the adrenaline, and people ask me like how because I did a presentation, at the LA Convention Center the other day. There were about 600 people there, an hour-long PowerPoint. People ask me, "How do you do that?" I'm like, "Trust me, this is so much easier than stand-up comedy." Like, I have a PowerPoint. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? I don't have to make people laugh. If I do, great. But stand up is much harder. And the great thing about doing stand up comedy, though, is it keeps me so sharp because it's harder, right? It's kind of like training for a marathon by doing an ultra marathon.
Yeah.
When you do an ultra marathon, you're going to be a damn good marathoner.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what stand up comedy does for me.
Interesting. Great analogy. Randy, back to you.
Well, you just held up a book with the word mornings in it, and so I'm a big proponent of like how you handle your mornings is how you're going to handle your day. So let's just talk about mornings. So
Okay.
how do you handle your mornings, and what's your general philosophy on managing mornings?
Well, I completely agree with you, Mandy. It just sets the tone for
Mhm.
your whole day. My husband is has we've been together a long time, 20 something years. And as he's gotten older, he was getting more negative in the morning, and he'd wake up and he'd literally utter 10 curse words within the first 10 minutes of being awake. And I've never really noticed because I'm so that I'm just like, whatever, okay. But then when we had a kid in the house, I said to him, "Is that really how you wanna show her your morning should start?" And it's affecting more people in the household than just you. And he hadn't noticed it. It had just become a habit, as a lot of these things do. But when he thought about how he wanted to show up in front of her, he made that change. And so I think, again, this goes back to the very first question you asked me, Amani, about being purposeful with your time.
Mhm.
Right? So being purposeful with your morning sets the whole tone for your morning. And so I can tell you, I have a very strong habit. In fact, it's so strong that sometimes it actually throws me off course because, I tell people build your morning ritual around the two things that have to happen every morning because you're human. One, you have to pee. While you're in there, can you do a couple other things that help you out, right? Two, you're gonna have to go get a glass of water because you're gonna be thirsty because you lose a ton of water while you're sleeping. Because again, you're human. When you're in the kitchen getting that water, can you do a couple other things like take some supplements? Can you even maybe get in a stretch while you're taking the supplements? Like I know a lot of people who work in a little bit of a stretch in random places. I personally do a deep squat for the 2 minutes that I'm brushing my teeth. I do my deep squat while I'm brushing my teeth. Why not? I'm there anyway. I want to keep my hips open. Might as well do it. So it's just about being purposeful. And the funny thing is when I walk into the kitchen, I have my whole routine of I make my 3 drinks. I always start with hot water with lemon or lime. And then I go to my smoothie and then I go to my matcha hibiscus. But I make all 3 of them immediately. And then while the water is boiling, I unload the dish rack because I like to have that one moment where like my kitchen looks neat. I'm like, oh, look at it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I take my supplements, right? So that's my morning. The other day I needed to get the stepladder from the kitchen. It was early in the morning and I was like, "Oh, I have to get something down. I got to go do that." I walked to the kitchen to get the stepladder and all of a sudden I'm doing all my things, having my supplements and I was like, "Oh god, the stepladder. I totally forgot." Because it's just such a habit now. So I get up, I'd make my drinks, clear the dish rack, do the supplements. Uh, actually, sorry, I lied. Let me back up. My alarm goes off. I lie in bed for a few minutes and I say a mantra. And I imagine how I want my day to proceed. And then I get up and then I go to the bathroom. And of course, I put on my contact lenses and I brush my teeth because you got to take care of your teeth, people. And brushing
Mhm.
your teeth in the morning is the difference between inflamed gums and not inflamed gums. Then I
Yeah.
go to the kitchen and I do the 3 things there that I tell you about. Then I go back to my bedroom and I sit and I have a nice long skincare session, which is only something I took up in the last 11 years because my skin was really, really nice until I hit 40. And then I was like, what is happening to my skin? Just like, sunspots like crazy. I didn't wear sunscreen until I was 40 because I didn't think I had to. I thought I was dark enough that I wouldn't need sunscreen. I was,
Yeah.
nope,
A
I
lot of
was wrong.
people, yeah, you're not alone. A lot of people do the same. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I have this nice long skincare routine, which was not always this long, because I don't actually enjoy skincare for skincare's sake, but I hate wearing makeup. And so the choice was makeup or skincare. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do skincare. And then I learned that actually self-touch is just it's almost as good as touching someone else. Like this is like giving yourself a hug right here, doing
Mhm.
all of this stuff. It stimulates you in really positive ways. And it just kind of got longer and longer, and then I added in music. Now I do music and a candle, and it really just it I call it my morning ritual. It really is. It's so centering. I don't listen to anything but just this pleasant sound, and then I have this candle that I love, and it's such a great moment for myself. And then when my skincare routine is done, I'm ready for my day.
You're like buckled up, ready to go.
Yep, I've taken care of myself.
Yeah.
I have nutrition, I have hydration, I did some stuff that just makes me feel centered and taken care of, and now I'm ready to show up as my best self.
I love the thought of just stop planning. Like I do this. I do RPM, so rise, P, meditate. Like that's my thing in the morning. And even if I don't meditate for an hour, if it's even 5 minutes,
Mhm.
it's just a part of my process. But before I did that, my every morning was a little erratic. Like I would wake up and I just noticed as soon as I just put one ritual into the morning, it just changed the pace of
Yeah,
everything else. And then I was ready for the day. So I love hearing everybody's morning rituals. And I think if you're listening to this or if you're watching this, you don't have to do a skincare routine. You don't have to do all of these things. But if you're
no,
not doing anything, just pick one little thing for yourself that helps ground you in the morning.
yes.
I think just picking one little thing,
No, no,
whatever that
absolutely.
is. Yeah.
That's what I tell people, just start
Yeah.
with the one thing. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's like the New Year's resolutions. You have 10 resolutions, and how many did you keep up? None
Right.
of
Yeah.
them.
None.
Just pick one,
Mhm.
and I have one to suggest if you're like, "I don't know where to start." I have one to
Yes.
suggest, and actually I forgot to mention it. Make your bed.
Mm,
I've been a bed maker my entire life just because I like the look of a made bed, but it is crazy how much brain science there is behind making a bed and the benefits of it, and it literally takes at least I've timed it. It takes me 20 seconds to make my bed. And
Mhm.
you get a win, you get the sense of executive function control of your life, and also because beds take up such a huge part of our bedroom, your bedroom will just look neater just with that one move. So,
Mhm.
if you don't know where to start, start there. And I also tell people there's no such thing as perfection. Shoot for 70%, right? So if the goal is to make the bed daily and you make it 5 times that week, that's a win. Give yourself a star or a check mark or high five yourself,
yeah.
whatever.
Speaking of wins, if we are, well, first, speaking of wins, let's go to the part of the show where you can ask both Mandy and myself a question. Any question that you want is on the table. So, what question are you going to ask? And who are you going to ask that question to first?
Well, something that I do on my podcast is I pull a card
Ooh,
from this
okay,
little deck of sayings. So I was thinking it might be fun to just pull this card and
let's
have
do
you
it.
answer it.
Let's
Oh,
do it.
yes.
Who's first?
Okay, Amani, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Getting what you want is not nearly as important as giving what you have. Getting what you want is not nearly as important as giving what you have.
Uh-huh.
Tom Kraus.
Okay. And the question within that is,
So, how does that speak to you? Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? Is there somewhere in your life where you have found that by giving, you actually get?
I would say maybe for me, I do agree with it. I would say giving like your time and expertise, helping people along their journeys when if you've already lived or been through what they are going through can be very fulfilling, but also in the long run could get you further than you anticipated.
Do you have a specific example in your life that you want to share with us?
Um, I always think of my students as a
Mm.
professor and just kind of teaching them and then seeing them go out and maybe get jobs, get promotions based on information they've learned from me or advice I've given them. And that really is probably one of the more fulfilling feelings that I've gotten recently, the last 5 6 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes. There's no feeling like teaching. It's amazing.
yeah.
I love that answer. Great. Okay, Mandi Graziano.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay. We become happier, much happier, when we realize that life is an opportunity rather than an obligation. Mary Augustine. We become happier, much happier, when we realize that life is an opportunity rather than an obligation.
I mean, that totally speaks to me. I don't look at anything as an obligation. And life is an opportunity. I think breathing is an opportunity. Being awake, being alert, being in this moment is an opportunity. So that, that's Mary, you're preaching to the choir. Preaching to the choir.
So,
Yeah.
is there an opportunity that came to you recently that maybe surprised you or that you had to think about a little bit, but you were so glad when you said yes?
Mm. That's so interesting. Yes. I mean, I don't say this, I look at this as an opportunity. So it was, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, one of my girlfriends is on the board of an organization called Transcendence. We'll just give Transcendence a shout out. They are community builders. So they teach dance and spoken word and poetry and just the arts in a community. And so a lot of high school students, a lot of grade school students go there, and it's their salvage, right? It's like
Mhm.
things may not be going well at home, but this is where they go to build confidence and learn how to be. And so I knew she was on the board for that for a while, and I've donated and I've participated, but I've never actually gone to one of her shows. 2 or 3 weeks ago, she invited me to their 20th anniversary recital. And, you know, everything's active right now, right? Like everybody's active and busy, but I in particular am at a very active part of my life for various
Mhm, mhm.
reasons. And I knew my husband was going to be at the Cal game. And I looked at a Saturday night as like, talk about an opportunity. Like I get the house to myself. I get to
Mm,
be
mhm.
alone. I don't have any renovation, anything I have to do. I don't have to work. I could just be alone in my house. So this invitation came and I was like, I don't know. Like I just want to be alone in my house. And then I thought about her and I thought about how I want to spend my time. And she is somebody I want to continue to spend time with because every time I spend time with her, like the world lights up. She lights me up. I
Mm.
light her up. Like I just feel so great. My heart's pounding with happiness. And so I said yes. And I went on Saturday. And again, Saturday was a long day. It was a workout and then a renovation. And then, just like it was a long day. And as soon as I walked in, this like outdoor amphitheater at UCSD, it was like this purple dome. It was like 70 degrees, like the stars were out. And I just remember walking up this like aligned pathway of little light thinking, what an opportunity. Like
Mhm.
what an opportunity to be here to support my friend, to support the work that she does. But like, I've never seen this campus at night. My husband works at UCSD.
Oh my gosh.
I've never even heard of this. He's been there for 10 years. I've never even heard of this particular amphitheater before. Like, what an opportunity to
Oh,
be here
wow.
in this moment. And honestly, if he wasn't at the Cal game, we probably would have been doing something else. I would have never gone. So
Right.
I kept thinking of it as an opportunity to show
Yeah.
up for a friend, to experience this venue. And then I sat down and wow, my heart melted because it was the 20-year anniversary and they had alumni who are now like doctors and lawyers and stand-up comedians and
Uh-huh.
they're all these things and they started when they were like 7 or 8 and they had no opportunity, but this program brought them so much opportunity. So it was like they did 10 they did 10 vignettes and like one was evolution and one was persistence and they intermixed the alumni with some of the students. It was just beautiful. So it was just like
Aw.
that was like this layered opportunity and
Yeah.
and, and the word opportunity kept coming to my mind like all
Oh,
night where
interesting.
where it's funny. That's why I laughed when you asked about that because at the end of the night, I'm like, God, normally when I think of opportunity, I think of business. But
Right.
all night, I just kept thinking opportunity. And then when you just said that, I haven't even talked about that with anybody yet. So
I
I think that
love
was just an
that.
opportunity for me to talk about how wonderful that was. So thank you for that.
Well,
Yeah.
and, I love that. I wanna I sometimes have these random thoughts when I walk my dog every morning, and
Mhm,
I walk her wearing a 40-pound weighted vest.
mhm.
I do deep squats when I'm picking up her poop. Like, again, my whole system,
Yeah.
right? And I had this thought when I was walking the other day, which is that, people were a lot more introspective back in the days of letter writing and journal writing. I was listening to a book, and it was his historical book, and you could hear the person working out their thoughts and their beliefs
Mm,
as they were writing these letters or journaling. And I think I talked to a lot of people and they're just like, "I don't know what I wanna do with my time. I don't know what the next thing is that I wanna work on." Get yourself a deck of these cards, get yourself this I have this book here that I answer every morning, writing prompt books, they exist. You'll be surprised at what comes out when you answer these random questions. It will help you process things and think about things because unless you ask yourself the question, you don't just think like, "I know what I wanna do with my life." You don't
mhm.
most of us don't have those moments. It's a thought process, and writing is really helpful for that.
It's
Speaking of,
funny. Oh, yeah, sorry.
well, go ahead, Mandy.
Well,
It's
I was
funny.
gonna say it's funny that you say that because I'm a journaler. I journal every night, and obviously we're both authors and writers and stuff. But I was just journaling the other day, and I was working through something. Like the way it
Mhm.
started versus the way it ended was so different. It was like I answered my own question as I
Yes.
was writing it down, and I was thinking the same thing of like, what if I wasn't an obsessive journaler? Like, would I have even thought this through the way I was just so grateful that I was able to think it through. So I just think that's a good reminder for people watching and listening of like your answers are in you, but you have to give yourself a system to find those answers for yourself. And sometimes journaling could be that. Yeah.
I think it's huge, and also too, just to clarify what you believe, because I think if you don't decide what you believe, then someone else might decide it for you.
For you.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
Mhm.
I should give you this little emotion here. Hold on. Where is it? The little snaps of the fingers. Yeah. We have our little sound effects here. But speaking of
Wow.
working it out, if we are gonna go talk to Alegre of 1990, well, they'll say late 90s when you're graduating from USC, the little
Uh-huh.
Starbucks that's right there on campus, right off of, I forget the street, but it's right there.
There's a couple on Figueroa.
Yeah, so we're gonna go to Starbucks on Figueroa,
Okay.
and you're gonna meet the younger version of yourself. But what advice would you give your younger version based on everything that you've learned so far in life?
Oh gosh. It's funny, I actually did a podcast on this, advice I'd give my younger self, and
Uh-huh.
I don't remember what I said now.
Go, go back and listen. Go back and listen.
Everyone go watch that podcast. That's my
Mhm.
answer. Uh, I think that I would say, first of all, just trust yourself more because I didn't have a lot of guidance growing up. So I had to figure a lot of things out on my own. But because of culture, the louder culture, it took me longer because I thought I should want this thing. I
Mhm.
should do that thing. I always tell people stop shooting on yourselves.
Mhm.
So I would tell my younger self, stop shooting on yourself. Don't worry so much about society, whatever, because you're not going to listen to them anyway. Like I just, I've always been comfortable with not wanting what everyone else wants, but it was a struggle when I was younger. Now I've embraced it, but it was a struggle when I was younger. I think related to that is this whole idea of it's okay to do more than one thing. Like I'm just not a one thing kind of
Mhm.
person, and so
Mhm.
much of society is like focus on the one thing, focus on the one thing, focus on the one thing. And I'm like I would be bored to tears focusing on the one thing. Yes, I probably would have made a crap ton more money. Yes. You probably would have heard about me on People Magazine or whatever if I had focused on one damn thing. It's just not what keeps me inspired. Like, I need to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and honestly, I think that's how a lot of us are wired because back in the day, we used to be the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker while also farming our own land and homeschooling our kids and probably playing some role in the community in some way, maybe the disaster preparedness or the mayor or the sheriff, whatever. You had to do more than one thing back in the day. So I think a lot of us fight that. And like I think we all need like a creative outlet, you know?
Mm.
We all need to we all need to do I think more of us need to do different things. Like the people who only focus on one thing, yeah, you hear their names and they go really far and they make a ton of money. Do they have a lot of friends?
Are they happy? Are
Do
they
their
happy,
kids
really?
like them?
Yeah, are they happy?
Yeah, are they happy? So, yeah, so I would tell my younger self, like, "Don't worry about it, you're gonna figure it out. Like, it's fine to be a little here, a little there, you know?" Like, everything feeds me in a slightly different way. You know, doing stand-up is different than writing the books. Uh, you know, stand-up is kind of more for me. The books is
Mhm,
kind of more my way of being of service. Although, my comedy is also being of service in a way because the show that I produce, it's called Soy Saucy. It features all Asian and Latin comedians because I am Asian and Latin,
mhm.
and it is such a great show, so much synergy. Like, when I started the show, I was like, "Is this gonna work, this whole Asian Latin thing?" Like, it makes sense to me,
Mhm.
but, is this gonna work? And people love the show's always been sold out, and I only do it quarterly. You didn't ask me that question, Amani, but I think you were going to, like, "How do you fit this in?" I do it quarterly.
Okay, thank you.
That's how I fit it in.
Where
Okay.
is it? Where is Soy Saucy? Give it a plug. When's the
So
next one?
So, actually, I'm okay, so I'm a little undecided because the whole goal with doing the live shows was eventually to tape a special.
Yeah.
If you've ever watched Netflix has this great thing called, like, the comedy lineup or the stand-ups where everyone does 15-minute sets, and I
Mhm.
really love that, and I thought it was a very strategic way because 15 minutes, you're not giving away the farm, but
Yeah.
it's enough time for people to know, like, "Do I wanna follow this person? Do I wanna see them when
Mhm.
they're in town?" So I wanna do that, but the thing that's missing from that show that I think Soy Saucy has is that I curate the comedians very purposefully so that if someone likes me, they're gonna like Peter, and if they like Peter, they're gonna like me.
Mhm.
So we're gonna produce I finally have the lineup that I wanted to produce the show now, the one that we're gonna tape, and so, as I said, I was doing it quarterly, so I was planning on doing a spring show, but then we've decided to do the recording in April, May, or June, and we're wondering actually, here's a question for you, Amani and Mandy.
Mhm.
From a strategic point of view, should I do a spring show kind of momentum towards the recordings? Or should I hold off on the spring show to generate demand? Because people have been asking when's the next show, and they always sell out. So there's limited seats. Should I not do a spring show in order to drive people to the recorded show that's going to be in April, May, or June? And we're going to do two shows back to back. That's how you tape a special. So you have more time to, to choose from for editing. So there'll be two shows back to back and it'll probably be about 500, 600 seats available for sale. So, you know,
Mm.
it'll
I
be
would
tell me.
I would say do the spring show and then record after because through the success of the spring show, you're gonna get even more demand than you could from just making people wait, in my opinion, as
Okay.
a professional
Yeah.
DJ, etc.
Oh, I love hearing about Amani's creative interests. Okay, yes, yes. Mandy?
I agree, but I think you have to be strategic about what you do at the spring show. Like, how are you gonna gather information? Or is there a QR code? What's in it for them? What's the lead magnet? Like, how are you going to cultivate those relationships and build those relationships from there to the recorded show? So
Yes. Okay.
I would give that a lot of thought too. And it has to do with the venue or the location or the time of day even or
Mhm.
all of that. Yeah.
So, I've been moving Soy Saucy around. You're asking where is it? I've been moving it around LA because for people who know LA, it's a very big place. People who live on the west side don't wanna travel to the east side for a show, don't you know? So that's why I've been moving it around. And, uh so I don't have a date for the spring show, but the theater that I'm looking at for the recording is in Santa Monica. It's a
Hmm.
very cool, like kind of like Art Deco theater with traditional red velvet seats. So Santa Monica, late spring, early summer, soysaucy.com.
Got it.
Love it. Yeah, keep
Well,
us posted on that. We'll do a follow-up on it. Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
we'll do
That's great.
a follow up. We do want to just say thank you for spending time sharing all your wisdom and expertise with us. It's a very interesting conversation. Definitely have to rewatch it. We have where people can find you. We'll continue to update it. We'll add all the links to the show notes. And
Thank you.
just thank you very much for being on the show and sharing your wisdom. So we'll give
Thank
you a
you
round
so
of
much for
applause.
having me.
Give you a round of applause. We're gonna put you in the green room real quick. So just hold on. Here we go. Round of applause.
Alegre, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. Mandy, we are finished with this week's show. Another great show. Very interesting. Very interesting. What
Yes.
who do we have on tap for next week?
We have open mic next week, Amanda.
That's right. We have two
We have a
TVDs.
freestyle. We have
TVD
a
is coming
TBD
next week.
next week. We have
Nope.
a great guest who is going to be rescheduled for another time because of a pop-up work conflict, and we've asked another great guest to be on. So we'll see.
To
It'll
be
be a
determined.
mystery. Tune in to find out.
Yes, mystery.
Mhm.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thank you to Alegre Ramos for being with us today. And with that, make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on the platform you're watching or listening on. Feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube. And with that, we will see everyone next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Adventures in Business. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast on the platform that you're currently listening it on. And don't forget to share it with your friends and anybody that might be as much of the business nerds as Amani and I are. See you next time for another captivating interview.